Hello my friends, William Poloniak here from Whole Health Foundation. Today I'm going to make some juice with Bartlett pears and Granny Smith apples, 50% each. And if they're not organic, soak them in water with 1 cup of vinegar for 10 minutes. You might even want to do that with organic apples. Let me show you what I do next. Now the next step is to cut the fruit into quarters so they're more manageable going into the juicer. So cut them into quarters, skin, seeds and all. The next step is to cut the Granny Smith apples into quarters like so. Now I'm using a Whole Health Foundation model juicer with a solid bottom plate. And this solid bottom plate enables you to leave the press up as long as you like, and that will extract more juice. Now the Whole Health Foundation model also has a cutter that has over 80 teeth, and that tends to shred produce 4 degrees centigrade cooler. So I'll put the cutter on and install the front-loading feed tube. Now the front-loading feed tube is an exclusive design by Whole Health Foundation that eliminates blowback up to your ceiling 100%. It might spit out 2 or 3 inches in the front with things like cantaloupe, maybe even apples, but that's much better than climbing a ladder to clean your ceiling. Now I'm going to use ball jars to collect the pulp, so let's begin by putting in the apples and processing them. Now it's a good idea with fruit to go down only part way. That way you'll get less blowback, in fact none. Now one of the things that I love about this front-loading feed tube is that you can see in here, and usually all the produce is shred, but what I like to do is put in a little bit of pulp to force any produce in there that might be in there. Usually there's no produce, but let's just be on the safe side, put a little in there and push it through. Now the next step is to take some cloths out of the freezer. I always keep cloths in the freezer after I press the water out, and I'm just going to crack them on the edge of the counter to loosen up the ice and make it easier to take apart. So we have 2 cloths here exclusively for apple, and I'm going to open them up. And for fruit or greens only juice, you use a bamboo liner to prevent the cloth or the pulp from sticking to the cloth. So here's my first step. Now next, I'm going to use the brush that comes with all Whole Health Foundation juicers. Clean the grid and the grid holder. Set this aside and clean the pusher and then clean the feed tube. Now if you use a brush like I'm doing here, you don't get a calcium buildup inside your feed tube. Now I've seen some feed tubes come into my shop so built up with calcium it took 2 or 3 days soaking in water to get rid of it. So next I'll pull the cutter off. Clean that, and before I reassemble I'm going to clean the front of the juicer. Now I'll put a sponge down here to collect the water, loosen up the pulp that's on the round escutcheon, and then spray with water to clean it. Next I assemble it. I assemble it wet. Some people like to dry off the water, but I like to get dry on it, so put the grid holder back in. The cutter is never, and I mean never, left on the shaft, and you might want to take out this little piece of pulp that's in here, and also in here if any. And the hole always goes down to drain properly, and again, never leave it on the juicer. And we'll put about 1/2 of a container of pulp. Fold the bamboo liner over the pulp like so, and then fold the cloth over the bamboo liner. Now I'm going to press 2 cloths at once because you get better pressure that way. And before we pour the pulp in there, let's get another bamboo liner. The bamboo liners are 100% organic. They're made from wild organic bamboo. And let's use a spatula to get the rest of that pulp out here. We don't want to waste any. The bamboo over the pulp as before in both directions. And then the cloth over the bamboo as tight as possible. Next we'll put 2 cloths into the press. 2 cloths into the press, centered left to right, centered front to back, all the way back, and back it off. Make sure it's on the press plate correctly and turn it on. Now the reason you back off a little bit is fruit especially is too slippery, and it could slip apart and make a mess for you to clean up. So once you get traction like that, advance it all the way. And usually I would wait until we have droplets, but because we're putting in more pulp, we'll take these 2 cloths out of here and reload these another couple of times. Up your bamboo, and you never throw away this pulp, and I'm going to show you at the end how we can get 10% more juice. So a little more pulp on here. And again, use the spatula to get out any pulp. We don't want to waste anything. Fold the bamboo over the pulp. And repeat this process until we're all done. Make as tight a package as you can. And again, press 2 cloths full of pulp, and you get better pressure that way and more juice. So make sure the tray's on the press plate properly. Center this left to right, center it front to back, all the way back. Remember to back it off a little bit. And as soon as you get juice flow, advance that all the way. Now here's my last container of apple pulp, apple and pear pulp 50-50. So I'll put half of this pulp in here. Fold the bamboo over the pulp just as we did before in both directions, and then make as tight a package as you can. The tighter the better. And here's the last of our pulp. Make sure we get all that pulp out of there. Again, we don't want to waste anything. It costs enough to buy it as it is, so let's not waste any. Fold the bamboo over the pulp in both directions and make as tight a package as you can. Now we're not going to throw away this pulp. I'm going to demonstrate how you can get 10% more juice. So into the press with these last 2 cloths. And again, as soon as you get juice flow, advance that all the way. Now, normally, most people would throw this away, but I want to point out, I'm not sure the camera can notice, but it's wet around the edges. So what I'm going to do now is form this into a tight ball and press it again, and I want to show you how you can get 10% more juice, 10% or more. So we're going to fold it after we make a tight ball, and we're going to fold this cloth under itself 3 or 4 or 5 times, as many times as you can, to get a really tight package. And we'll do that in both directions. Flatten that, set it aside, and do that again. Make a very, very tight ball. And look at my folding technique again. We're going to fold the edges under to minimize slippage. And we'll do that in both directions. Press that down. 54 ounces. So we're going to hope to get 5 more ounces, and we'll put this into the press right in the center. Very important to be in the center. Centered left to right, centered front to back. Adjust if need be, all the way back it off a little bit. And as soon as you get juice flow, advance that all the way. Now as long as you have a steady flow, we're going to leave that up. There we have 3 ounces so far, almost 10%. So I'm going to back this off, tip that forward. There we have 5.5 ounces, that's more than 10%. So let's turn off this machine, we'll pour this into here and fill some bottles. Now there we have 3, maybe 3.5 bottles of juice, and enough for a taste test. Now in this one, I'm going to mix 50% with water because I suspect this is much too sweet for me. So we'll fill this with water. This is distilled water. You can use filtered water, even bottled water. So the pure black top has 50% water. Now let's do a taste test. I want to show you the last step that most people never do. If you never clean your juice tray, you'll get a buildup of calcium and other organic matter, and it will be very, very hard to clean. So what I do is take the cloth, run it around the edges, rinse it, and then I'm going to fold the cloths after I wash off the pulp and press out the water. But first, I'm going to show you something that almost no one does that owns these juicers, and that is to clean the upper plate and the side. So let's put these 2 cloths in here, and before we press it, I'm going to take a paper towel and clean up here. I'll take a paper towel and clean all the way around the upper plate and the side here. Now you can probably see the remnants of apple juice. I'm going to dampen this and clean it one more time up here, and then around the edge of the upper plate. Now for a taste test. 50% Granny Smith apples and 50% Bartlett Pear. Oh, that's very, very sweet. Well, this juice is perfect in my opinion. Next, let me taste the juice, 50% water. Bartlett Pear, Granny Smith apples, and 50% water. Well, for me that was too much water. I think the juice was perfect as it is. If you think it's too sweet, put in maybe 10% water or 20% water. Well, my friends, I hope you like what you've seen, and if you do, please tell a friend. If you'd like to call me, my phone number is 760-753-0321. My email address is developtrust@cox.net, and my webpage is wholehealthfound.com. See you in the next video.